What's up, YouTube land? It's your boy Anton, aka Dr. Mix-a-Lot, and this is another entry into the Doc's Mix-Ups blogs, which is a collection of experiences I've had over the years that have turned me into a better mobile bartender business owner. And I hope to pass on some of these experiences to you in the form of some of these video shorts. Now, today's topic is to make sure that you charge extra time on top of any service time that your customer is asking for. Now, as a bartender, you have to remember you're not just being paid for your service, you are being paid for your time always. So no matter what you're doing, you're working at your hourly rate. And you want to make sure that all of that is reflected in what you have to do to do the party, not just drink service, but also set up, clean up, even planning for the party. You want to make sure that you have systems in place that allow you to charge the customer in a fair manner for the time that they use for your services. Now, my general rule of thumb in the past, which actually I'm kind of changing now, but in the past it was to charge 1 hour for events up to 100 guests, and then an hour and a half for events over 100 guests, because obviously the bigger the party, the more time you're going to have to set up and clean up. So that hour actually included, for example, if a customer had a party from 4 to 8 p.m., I would charge them 5 hours, meaning that the bartender would get there sometime between 3:15 and 3:30, enough time to kind of set up, and then stay up into 45 minutes to an hour later for cleanup after 8 o'clock. Now, you'll see that doesn't really add up to an hour exactly, but I like to make sure that I give my customers that kind of flexible half an hour, because practically speaking, you need to stay for a party as long as you need to clean up. If you were only supposed to clean up for an hour, but it takes an hour and a half to clean up, you need to stay your ass there and clean it up. And that's just what it is, because you want to make sure, and again, going back into training, as a good retail bartender, you don't leave until that bar is closed out and your manager has checked you out, and you have to give that customer the same effect. So you just have to be prepared to stay longer. But because of that, actually, I am sort of changing my rules now to charging the customer upfront for an hour and a half for events under 100 guests, and then 2 hours for an event at 100 guests. That way, the bartender can show up more, an hour to 45 minutes before the party. Most customers won't really notice that, as long as you get there and have enough time to set up, which 45 minutes should be plenty. And then again, kind of that flexi hour to hour and a half to stay after to clean up. I think that kind of captures things. Regardless of what I do, just make sure that you're clear with your customer that there will be setup and cleanup time associated with this. Now, the way I operate, 90% of the time, I tack that extra hour on automatically. So again, if it's 4 to 8, I'll charge an hour or an hour and a half, depending on the guest list, off top, so the customer knows, hey, we're going to start drink service time at 4 and end at 8, but I'm going to be there before and after, which I'm charging you for, to make sure that we can do this thing right. Sometimes, though, the customer already has compensated for that and will be able to explain that to you. But that's why if you charge off top, then they'll at least be able to adjust that if they see it any differently. Now, be ready to stand your ground if there's other things that you're doing which were not necessarily agreed to in the contract. For example, there can be a lot of planning that can go into a big event, for example, with 200-300 people. I've done those events before where the bride and groom and I had to really get together and discuss things, either over the phone, sometimes in person, and you have to be able to compensate for the time that you're using, because you could spend 2-3 hours planning for it, and that takes time out of running your business. So kind of the way I compensate for that is anything over about 120 guests, I assume that's going to take a little more planning involved. I automatically charge an extra half an hour, which I call, a consultation fee, because I know the customers are most likely going to be in contact with me over the course of this thing before the event to make sure that they've planned for everything and everything's on track. So I think it's fair to charge them at least another half an hour, knowing that's probably going to be anticipated. Um, at the end of the day, regardless of what you do, the most important thing is that you know that you're being compensated for your time and that you have clear and precise systems in place that show the customer, this is what I charge for my time, for my services, whether that's taking the time out to make a customized drink list for you or shopping list for you, taking an hour or two out of what it's going to take to plan for this event, this 250 person event before. Maybe I have to meet you at the venue to talk to your event planner and the venue owner. Maybe you want me to stay extra to clean up outside of something that was outside of my contract, or come earlier to set up some cute little knickknacks they might have set up for the event. Whatever it is, make sure that you have clear and precise terminology in your contracts that let the person know there's a limitation to what time I can give you before you end up compensating me for it. Because again, time is money. You're running a business. And though we want to do this for the feelings and fun, which is always there, at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line, and your customers should be able to understand that. So with that said, I hope you liked what you saw. If you did, make sure you click the like or subscribe button. It's your boy Anton, aka Dr. Mixlot, signing off. As always, happy mixing and cheers on beautiful service.